I'm not so affected by the judgments of others, because other people will judge you anyways, and it's so important that you live a life that you believe is driven for the right purpose. In terms of work, I think that also relates, because as an apprentice as well, you are doing things for the first time, quite a lot of it. So you need to have a confidence in your ability, and you need to know how to take feedback and not to get super defensive. So even just by speaking about like the fruits of the spirit, so like love, kindness and everything, those characteristics just really help you in every part of what you do, but especially in the workplace is so important. I also feel like it's had an impact on my peace. I would say even when there's things going on, I just have like a peace that surpasses all understanding, that can just keep going and flowing and like pushing me on. And that can happen in work when there may be a setback, or like in my personal life. So I definitely would say that's helped. And also rejection. Rejection, I think, is hard for anyone if that's like a job opportunity you didn't get, or like something personal, but it's definitely changed my perspective since following God. In the beginning, I actually had a few apprenticeship rejections, and it wasn't great. I didn't enjoy it, of course, but I feel like God definitely redirected me to my current company and just with the current opportunities I have. So I see it much more of a redirection. And I think that perspective changes a lot, because I feel like anything God has for me, I wouldn't miss out on. And I know that God has a plan for me that's better than my own. So just that alone, it just keeps me going and disciplined.
Thank you. And first off to say, that's an incredible story to hear. Because I think it's really key it's really the key element, that I can tell from literally what you just said is sort of that the importance of how faith not only sort of like keeps you grounded in the sense of sort of when, as you mentioned, like whether dealing with failure or difficult circumstances, but sort of like that encouragement and sort of knowing, I forgot. There's a scripture, I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's a scripture that sort of reminds it's in Second Chronicles 20, but it's basically a story about a king during Israel's time, that basically God tells him that the battle belongs to me. Like, it's not, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't need to fight. The battle belongs to me, not you. So, and I think that's one key thing that I'd say from what you shared is that reminder that you don't have to have, like, everything's not in your control, and because it's not, that's not a bad thing. That's actually like a liberating thing, because you know that you have like a loving Father that cares about what you're going through and how to, get to the places that he's called you to be. I think even from hearing your story, I'm not sure if you know the person, but, we shouted them out on the podcast a few times. They're called, they're a couple, Haley and Sterling Record, but they have their own podcast. I always recommend people to check it out. They actually recently released they released their marriage film that they made for their wedding, but their whole podcast was talking about their journey as Christians, but also sort of like dealing with different things. But one key thing from their story, which I think Haley posted recently on LinkedIn, was she was showcasing that, I think almost 9 years ago, she did a video on, just when she was at secondary school, just talking about how she was going to be a motivational speaker, and do all these things. And she basically says that God was a huge part of, all the successes that she's got, and even getting to the place where she is today, she wouldn't have got there with God. So I think it's really key, as you mentioned there, the faith element. And even, interestingly enough, in the first episode of the season, myself, and I was hosting it with someone in our team called Josh, that was like a key thing that came out from that as well.